All right, let's talk about the Detroit Lions and their very interesting 6 selections, and I would say was a very good draft. Now, obviously, the top 2 picks are the main picks that I'm going to be giving them a lot of love for. I believe they made my winners list both day 1 and day 2, so a lot of really good stuff there, and even some interesting stuff day 3. Although maybe some questions day 3 as well. But really, we can start off with Terrion Arnold, who I think could be a really good corner for them. I think that there are some, I guess maybe more explosive corners in this draft that maybe you would like more, potentially, if that's your kind of thing. But I really liked Arnold's tape a lot, and I thought he was a really quality player. And so for him to fall to 24 was not to be expected. Also, I should set up what you're looking at on the screens. Sometimes I forget to set up what my charts are. You see that what you're looking at is all the way on the left. That is when the player was drafted. The next column over, that is where they were supposed to go according to the consensus big board. We then have the player name and the player position. So you see the consensus big board thought that he should have been a top 12 selection. So the fact that he ends up not even being, in the top 20 is certainly a steal. The Lions did give up some draft capital to go up and get him, but to be honest, he's kind of a perfect scheme fit. Go up and get your corner. It makes sense to me. And they also didn't trade up for Ennis Rakestraw Jr., but they did make sure that they got him as well, who I think could be a really good player. And in fact, when I did my Orlando Ostriches, my created team, what I do is I go through the draft, and on all that stuff, and I drafted Rakestraw Jr. in the second round as well. So I'm with you, Lions. I think that, he's worth a second round pick. He was projected to go early second round. He ends up falling all the way to 61. So again, you almost are at the point now where it's like, is corner a big need at this point? Did they overspend at the corner position? Well, it still is a position that I think that you could always add some depth to. And if you have just enough corners to start, you don't have enough corners. You need more guys, and I wonder if he could be more of a slot guy as well. So the first 2 picks are, in my opinion, really strong. The one that jumps out at you in the negative column is Giovanni Manu, who they drafted at 126. He was projected to go not at all. There is not 333 picks, and that's where he was on the consensus big board, which, listen, when there's a guy who's projected to go undrafted and you draft them in round 4, usually they play like a guy who is projected to go undrafted. That's just the reality of the situation. The Detroit Lions have shown that they don't care about quote-unquote overdrafting. If they like a player, they'll go out and get that player. And we saw that with Jahmyr Gibbs, and we saw that with Jack Campbell. And while there's debates as to how well those picks have worked out, there's also the, I think Sam Laporta was another example where they kind of reached quote-unquote on the board, and they were very happy with that one. So, again, if a team has success drafting a certain way, I'm going to be nicer to that team than if they don't have success. So, we'll see how it goes. Maybe not the pick I would have made, though. Who is Manu? Well, the reason why they like him, I think, is he has all the physical traits. He's 6'7", 350 pounds. He can move very well. He is someone that you look at and say, okay, physically, this guy has it. You can't teach size, so the fact that he has the size is good. Doesn't really quite have a lot of great hands or footwork, which is something you could teach up, and that's, I think, the hope, and that's probably why they went out and added him, is like, hey, let's get a guy who will require some teaching up, but we have a really good offensive lineman who can help him out around him, and there is some potential there. Again, I'm never a fan of these picks. Personally, that's just not how I would draft. But again, there's several different ways to think about it. And, the argument for it is, hey, you draft enough of these guys, they're not all going to hit, but some of them certainly are. And if you can take some swings for the fences, you are going to get the barrel on the bat every now and then. So, that's what they did. And next on the list is Sione Vaki, who is a unique player. So he is out of Utah, and interestingly with him, he played safety and running back. So I think most people feel like he's a safety. That's what you look for, but he is someone who played at multiple positions, which once we get into later picks, people really value that. And a lot of times, not quite at this point, but especially once we get into the 200s, guys who can play multiple positions are usually the guys who get drafted there just because, hey, maybe you're a backup safety, but now you're also a backup running back. You give us versatility, and that saves us a roster spot, which is really important. I do wonder how much drafting him you're looking for special teams at this spot, which is a little early. That's why he was kind of projected to go 169, getting him at 132. But perhaps they feel like he can also come in and contribute at the safety position. There are things to like about his game. So, and again, the fact that he'll play running back, what else is he willing to do to help the team win? I can understand the appeal for someone like him. Then we got a couple of, again, usually you want to be on this side of the consensus big board. 189, they get the 108th rated prospect, Makai Wingo, the interior defensive lineman out of LSU, who is an interesting player, maybe a little undersized at 6 feet, 280 pounds. That's kind of the maybe the concern. But again, I felt like the tape at times was not, you didn't see him get completely pushed around the way you might think. I do think he is ideally a pass rusher from the inside, which for pick 189 is valuable, and there's certainly a role player aspect to his game, which is why he fell in the draft. But again, sometimes just get a guy who can come in and contribute, and he is someone who I feel like could come in and contribute right away. So we have a couple other guys where I'm like, I'm not sure exactly where you fit. Wingo feels like someone who could fit and could be a pretty solid prospect for them. And then finally, at pick 201, they got Christian Mahogany here out of Boston College. He is a guard, and he's interesting, right? Because they already drafted an offensive lineman in Manu, who listed at tackle. Wonder if they're drafting him to play guard. But, Mahogany was supposed to go 200 picks earlier than Manu was, interestingly enough, but instead, he goes 75 picks later. Interesting how that kind of stuff can go. He is someone who I think is a much more polished player than someone like Manu, which is why he was projected to go higher. Some of these guys I've watched some film on, try to do a little scan before recording these videos, but some of these guys I haven't done full deep dives. I usually try to get the top 100 prospects. I didn't evaluate Mahogany. He didn't make my top 50 prospects list or anything like that, but I think there's still some reason to like him, and I do think I am interested in what he can do. He has very good highlights. I'll say that about him. I thought that a lot of his splash plays looked very good, and I wouldn't actually be shocked if he's someone who ends up starting. So for a guy who didn't go in the top 200 picks, having that kind of potential feels pretty good. So, I didn't love every pick from the Detroit Lions perspective. I did really like a lot of them, and so because of that, it's kind of hard to give this anything but a pretty positive grade. So, I was a fan of this draft. I don't really do grades or anything, just give my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. That's my draft recap for the Lions. I plan on doing one for all these teams, so be on the lookout for, if you're a Lions fan, maybe you want to check out what I think about the Packers and, your division rivals and all that stuff. But doing this for every team, so make sure you check out that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.